So, so there's a guy named Barack Obama. He was the 44th president of the United States of America. He was the first African-American president of the United States of America. Anthony says, no notification. Also, Mike Goat needs an Android app so I could download it. Anthony, I just had a conversation with somebody from Mike Goat this morning, and they are working right now on actually getting that Android app. So I'll talk about the Mike Goat app again. If you weren't here yesterday, we have our first official sponsor, so that's exciting. Obama. Obviously, if you ask me, Obama was a better president than Trump. There's a lot about Obama I don't like. I think he pretty much ran as a progressive and then sprinted as far as he could to the center. The healthcare plan was basically a Republican plan. It's better than nothing, Obamacare, but it's not what the country so desperately needs, which is Medicare for all. He continued George W. Bush's endless war and military-industrial complex. He did nothing against bankers, criminal bankers, and frankly, I see it when I'm in the field. Didn't do a lot for black people either. Just keeping it real. So the bottom line is this. Obama has been relatively silent as an ex-president for over 2 years, but he has been going out hard on the campaign trail. And he is now going out on the campaign trail 2 weeks. Today is 2 weeks before the midterm elections to basically push for centrist Democrats because he wants the Democrats to retake the House, preferably the Senate too, and continue on with incrementalism, gradualism, and the politics of gradual change, as he calls it, which is another word for neoliberalism. So here's what Obama had to say on the campaign trail in Vegas, just yesterday, I believe.
The biggest threat to our democracy is indifference. The biggest threat to our democracy is cynicism that says we're just going to stay home because my voice doesn't matter. But listen, I won states because 10 people extra in every precinct voted. I won that state because of that. The last election, it was probably the same number of people that could fit into a football stadium swayed the entire election. Don't tell me your vote doesn't matter. If you don't like what's going on right now, and you shouldn't, don't complain. Don't get anxious. Don't throw up your hands. Don't boo. Vote. And when you vote, not just for these candidates, but up and down the line for mayors and sheriffs and district attorneys, you have the power to make sure our voting rights are protected.
So there you have it. You have the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, saying the greatest threat to democracy is not the Republicans, is not lobbyists, is indifference. So that's interesting. So President Obama, who I recall in 2008, I recall in 2010, I recall in 2012, and I recall in 2014 saying, this is the most important election of your lifetime. They said that for every election, and they said it there, and 2016. So he's basically, every election, he has said, this is the most important election of our lifetimes. But Obama seems to think that the biggest threat isn't the Republican Party, it's not lobbyists peddling influence, it's just indifference. Well, I beg to differ. I beg to differ with President Obama because bottom line, the biggest threat is indifference to neoliberalism, the revolving door of lobbyists, banks, corporations, politicians, and the media, and thinking that putting Democrats in is going to create widespread change if those Democrats aren't walking the walk on progressive terms. I think Obama is better than Trump, But Obama sounds good. He says the right things. He has very, very soaring rhetoric. He's had it for a decade or more. But in reality, it's talk. Because when he had the opportunity to stem the influence of lobbyists, which he said he was going to do, and he did not, which I'm about to show you, when he had the opportunity to actually take on the Republican Party with a huge mandate from the American people at his sails, he did not. When he had the opportunity to take on the bankers and the banks, he did not. Why? Because he got, at that point in 2008, the most money from big banks in the history of presidential campaigning. He did nothing to stem the military-industrial complex, as my friend the Salt Lakers says in the chat, which, as a reminder, super chat if you're feeling super. So, excuse me, when I hear Obama, and granted, he's not saying that lobbyists aren't a threat at all. He's saying the biggest threat to democracy is indifference. No, the biggest threat to democracy is pretend progressives, pretend everymans, pretend populists continually saying, if you don't vote for us, the Antichrist is going to get elected.